Oh, and you can see Merc is loafing right there. Hello, my name is Cassie Mothwin, and I am a tabletop RPG game designer in my quest to be a better designer, as well as to be, I don't know, someone who uplifts indie games. I stream games and talk about them and what I like about them, and yeah, you can find that all over my Twitch and YouTube channel and elsewhere. I just love screaming about games, especially really cool, nifty, underground ones, like the one we're gonna look at today, which is Eat the Reich by Grant Howitt and someone else, Kirkby. I'm great at names, not. It's an incredibly beautiful, stunning, amazing game, and I really can't wait to show you what it looks like. I thought that I just bought the book and a couple of patches because I was going through a patch era whenever they were kickstarting this. Turns out I bought like a whole situation. So I'm gonna show you everything I got before we dive into the book, just so you can see and get a sense, and then we will unlock the rest of the book. That's probably the wrong order to do things in, but I am gonna do it anyway. So yes, I have a lot going on. All right. Oh, this probably wasn't the special edition. I don't know. Let me grab the stuff. Danny Hurt. Oh my gosh. Thanks, Danny. 28. Oh my God, hair. 28 months. That's so crazy. You're crazy. Okay. It's not gonna fit on camera, like everything. So it came in this, there we go. It came in this really cool envelope. All the stuff I got. It's a little dinged up, but that's okay. So yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. Do I keep it? Do I get rid of it? I don't know if I can get rid of it, but also I don't know if I need it. I got a bookmark. It's also kind of dinged up. It's not the end of the world. It's pretty. It's like the ISBN. I don't think it feels like it should open, but I don't think it does. I got a coin. It came in a plastic case. I lost the lid under the bed. I'm not gonna dig for it, but that's... Oh, and I'm trying out my phone as my flip through cam. So hopefully the quality's better than my previous streams that I do like this. Let me know. I have music by the wonderful Dungeon Glitch. Got a patch. Like I said, I was in my patch era, so I needed all of them for some reason. So yeah, I got all the patches. The color, I don't know. The color's really called to me. I'm a vampire girly. I couldn't decide which one I wanted. Not sure what I'm gonna do with them yet, but I really need them. They're really nice. Let me open one and show you like the quality. Yeah, I don't even know what package I got off Kickstarter. They don't have like the melty back, which is fine. I think you can add that yourself, but yeah, they look really pretty. Yeah, I don't have one right now that it could work on, but yeah, they look really good. I have a vest I'm working on. I just have to sit and sew a bunch of stuff onto it. I got these cards. They're just like art cards. They look really good though. I think they knocked it out of the park when it comes to art direction for this game. I think these are the characters. I believe you just play pre-generated characters. And I don't remember exactly why that's what they went with. I remember reading their like manifesto is not the right word, but their rationale for why that was. And I remember being like, yeah, that's totally fine. I totally get it. That was like over a year ago, so I don't remember what that said. And I should have did a close up a little bit on the bookmark. The quality of it is not amazing, but so my phone has two cameras. It has like a close-up camera and a faraway camera. So if you see it jumping, it's because it's switching between those two cameras. And then I got this, which says it's a character sheet and map pack that I guess I thought I needed at the time. Who knows? I probably ordered this at 1 o'clock in the morning, sleep deprived. So this folds out actually, and I guess you could put notes in here. But there's the character. Yes, I'm kind of obsessed with this Astrid. I'm very attracted to Astrid. Astrid's incredible. But yeah, so there's the character sheet. That's what it looks like. Oh, thanks, Alex. Oh, so many sounds. Appreciate it. Thanks for subscribing. So Astrid was an ex-fighter pilot bitten by something after a crash in the frozen taiga. The parasite soul of a wild predator is nestled around your heart. Now ancient magic flows in your blood and wild spirits bow to you. But in case that fails, you also have a machine gun. Oh, awesome. Oh wow, what just happened? Hey, thanks, Randall. Thanks so much, everybody. Appreciate you. I really appreciate the support. And then we've got a bat. This is Flint. I think the character goes like this because the hat is upside down. Yeah. It's a bit rough for me to read. So I'm not sure how the camera's picking up. Looks great on camera, actually. Yeah, so these are the character sheets. Not all of them, a lot of them. They got a little out of order because I dropped everything right before I was streaming. So here's another one. I'm just gonna kind of go through these quickly. We're not gonna dive into the character sheets quite yet. I think you can get a sense of how simple they are. Like I said, they're all pre-generated. You might get to choose some of the skills. It looks like you put check marks and things as you go. I think I just wanted these because I liked the artwork so much. Irina. Oh, hell yeah. Irina's also awesome looking. The artwork is just so good. So nothing like scary about the character sheets at all. We're still going through. Are these duplicates? Do I have duplicates? Oh, I think I do. I think I have duplicates, which is good. And then another map. Wonder if there's multiple maps. Okay, does it just keep repeating? Yeah. Wow. Okay. So I've got multiple maps and multiple sets of character sheets. Let's take a look at the maps. I don't know what these mean yet, how these work. We've got sectors. Is it just the one map? I wonder if one is like the GM's map and one is the player's map. So that one is like has a lot of labels on it, and then this one has no labels. So neat. Like I said, I don't know how that works out. So that's all the stuff that I got in the package that I ordered that I don't recall ordering. I'm sure I did it. I'm sure I did the ordering. And then this is the book. It's a really cool size. Let me see. It's hard to communicate on stream. I used this book last time, so I guess I'll just use it again. So here's Apothecaria. And as you can see, it's not quite much. It's bigger than Apothecaria, but it's also not like typical D&D book size. It's a really interesting size. It's not a B7. This still has my Nova character sheet. This is what I would consider like, here's an 8.5 by 11 inch, and you can see that it's, oh God. It's not as big as that. So if that helps a little bit with the size. I know that doesn't help my Europe friends who don't have the same standard size, but yeah, so there you go. It's a really interesting size. I actually really dig this size. I think Trophy Dark still holds my favorite size book though. Favorite from thickness to format. I think that is like my gold standard right now for how I want a book to appear and feel. But this one is really dang good. I love the sprayed edges, the pink. Yeah, the year is 1943. You are a unit of crack vampire commandos, coffin-dropped into occupied Paris. You have one mission: drink all of Hitler's blood. Eat the Reich is a fast-paced, short-burn, ultra-violent tabletop role-playing game written by Grant Howitt, Spire, The City Must Fall, Heart, The City Beneath, Honey Heist, Crash Pandas, and illustrated by Will Kirkby, Critical Role, Dark Horse Comics, Space Station Zero. Okay, so Will Kirkby is awesome. I love their art. Okay, this is hard to read for me in person, so it's easier on screen, so I'm gonna look at the screen. It has everything you need to get started right away, including 6 beautiful pre-generated, oh, it switched cameras. Thank you, phone. That was great. It was fine using the camera it was using. That's fine. I'll just read it for you. Pre-generated characters in an accurate map of Paris. Several battalions of Nazi adversaries, complete with snipers, paratroopers, armored infantry, tanks, and reanimated mummies. 4 dangerous gun uber something, full of magically enhanced blood, easy to learn rules, which push cinematic action, creativity, and group storytelling to the forefront of play. Extensive safety tools and guidance for playing a game featuring Nazis, even if you're... it's hard to read because the words are 3D, and then there's this texture that goes all across, and it's actually like really granular. I don't know if you can see that. It looks great, but it does make it a little bit difficult to dissect. Anyway, but just another close-up, the texture. It's really cool. They did a really great job. So anyway, this folds out. It goes really far. Don't look at my alchemy code. That's for me. Okay. The year is 1943. Europe is in flames. You are a unit. Oh, we kind of already read that. That was on the back. Yeah, this looks like it's like the drop. Maybe this is inside the coffin, which is kind of cool. And then this also opens up. And I don't know what all this is yet. Oh, hacking. So this is how to make your own vampires. I remember in a Kickstarter update, they talked about how they were going to help, or they were going to create some rules for creating characters, because they were like, we don't really want you to create your characters. We just want you to use our characters. So here is the table of contents. It's right on the inside. Again, it's very 3D, very textured. Hello, Nathan of Reckless Attack. Yes, it is a rare midday stream. We have a welcome section, safe section, setting up the game, choosing your characters, getting things done, mission structure, running the game, the map, sector 3, sector 2, sector 1, and evil calibration checklist. That's interesting. I love that it's on page 66. That's kind of fun. So yeah, this is a pretty short, it's less than 70 pages. Well, no, it's 73-ish pages to be exact. So it's pretty interesting. Mechanics are all by Grant. This is the first edition. A lot of places get their stuff printed in Latvia by Livona Press, I think. I think that that's what I've discovered as I look at more and more of these books, is that I think Morkborg might even be printed here. I could be wrong. I could be misremembering. I look at a ton of games. Content warnings, heads up, this is important for folks. This game includes death, violence, grievous injury to player characters and non-player characters, blood, vampirism, mental domination, guns, animated corpses, werewolves, occult magic, fascism, Nazis, and Adolf Hitler. So heads up, if you're uncomfortable with any of that content, do what you need to do. Take care of yourself. All right. So let's do a quick kind of thumb through so you can get a sense of what awaits us in the text at large. It looks like each page has individual layout. We have the characters that we have already sort of kind of looked at. We'll take a look at them again though. Just absolutely beautiful spreads. They did a really fine attention to detail, I feel like, throughout, just from like an at a glance, high level overview. Like, what I love is it does look like you're flipping through a dossier, right? It doesn't feel like it could be from the 1940s, but it looks like it. And they did a good job with pulling in some of that atmosphere and a lot of the art direction and the layout here. So if nothing else, I think this book serves as a great place to get layout inspiration for a game. Oh my gosh. Wow. Just impressive. It looks so beautiful. Ah, even the folds in this like look really good without being distracting. The shading, the shadows on the images. I feel like this kind of thing is tough for people to pull off, because a lot of the times when I see it, it's done well, but not always, and usually it's either too crowded or it's hard to read because they pulled the paper texture too much into the book. So what I think they did really well here, and I think the wider size allowed this is, see how much space they're not using in the margins, but it looks like they're taking up a lot of the page. Like, so if this were the trophy size that I really like, they would be like cut off. They would, and it would all have to be a lot tinier. So I think that's part of the reason they probably want bigger, so that they could keep that atmosphere while also ensuring it was readable. Aaron says, compared to Heart and Spire, this layout is such a huge leap forward. I have to agree with you. I do feel like this heavily leans into the artistic space of layout. Because I don't think Heart is bad. I think it's perfectly readable and usable, but it is a lot of text. Thought I was hearing a cat. No. Merc is still sleeping. Let me see if he's in, is he in camera? Yeah, there he is. So if you missed out, Merc is right there. This a little blurry boy. Okay, sorry. I had to show you. It was important you saw the baby. Okay, let's get into it. I know I keep saying that. We've been into it this whole time. Yeah, I was gonna say this is a large book, which is smart. Yes, always smart. There you go. Welcome to Eat the Reich. By using this book, you and your friends will be able to craft over-the-top stories of action, ultra-violence, carnage, and supernatural chaos together. What this is: a tabletop role-playing game built around a single scenario, the final vampire mission to retake occupied Paris at the close of the Second World War. What this isn't: an open-minded campaign game where you can explore the intricacies of your bespoke character arc. Who this is for: players and game masters who want an all-action pulp adventure party to go out of the box, and who aren't squeamish when it comes to descriptions of dead fascists. What is a role-playing game? Every role-playing game or RPG is different. For the most part, they are creative storytelling games that you can play with a group of 3 to 6 people for several hours at a time. Over the course of several sessions of play, you'll build a narrative by following the rules in the gamebook, rules that usually govern unexpected or challenging consequences of your actions. I like that this says garlic pill right here. That's really funny to me. Alex says, love how physical the layout is. Really does a good job of making it look like you are finding paper. Exactly. They did it. And I think there's like little extra sort of hidden everywhere, like the garlic pill piece. That's kind of funny. So the vampire's like eating the pill to die so they don't give up state secrets. The black highlighter looks really good. I'm trying to see like what this says. Anyway, so what is this role-playing game? Most of you will be playing vampires. These are the player characters. The player characters are the stars of the show, and everything revolves around them. All the player characters in Eat the Reich are pre-generated, which means that you don't have to make them yourselves. They're ready to go. One of you won't be playing a vampire. You'll be the game master or a GM instead. The game master is in charge of everything that isn't the player character. That includes knowing the rules and describing the world. For most groups, you'll also be deciding when and where to play, and ensuring that everyone has a good time. It's a role with a lot of responsibility attached to it, but it's a lot of fun once everything gets going. If you're reading this book, odds are you'll be the game master. That's how these things usually shake out. Now, all you have to do is convince some friends to come over and kill fascists for an evening. When you're at the table, your players will be in control of their characters' actions and their position in the story. Your role is to set up the world and react to their decision and facilitate use of the rules. The rules for Eat the Reich are dead simple. You can learn more about them on page 28. What is the Havoc Engine? Oh, I didn't realize my phone was like in my face. There we go. What is the Havoc Engine? The Havoc Engine is a simple, straightforward tabletop role-playing system with a focus on action, procedural scenes, objective-based challenges, and freeform player creativity. It's what Eat the Reich is based on. You can learn more about it at rrdgames.com/havoc. So, Hedgegirl says, this is good. I love a good, clear setting of expectations, and it can be difficult to do as a games facilitator. Yes, I think and Nathan says Havoc is a good word. Yes, I think they did a great job. I think they have impeccable word choice when it comes to how to describe this game and how to present it to others as a way to describe this game. I will say that I think Grant Howitt tweeted recently about this book, and I was like, why isn't that anywhere on the actual book? I can't remember what the exact tweet was. Can I pull it up? because I was trying to, I can't see there. Because I was trying to tell a couple of my friends about this game, and I was like reading the back of it, and it just wasn't quite what it was. And the tweet says, Eat the Reich is an ultra-violent, anti-fascist fever dream of a tabletop RPG in which you, a nightmare vampire commando, are coffin-dropped into occupied Paris in order to drink all of Hitler's blood. I was like, that should be on the back of the book. Because I feel like that's a little bit of a better overview of what's going on here than kind of what's in it. Like, does it say vampire? You are commandos coffin. You are crack vampires. Okay, it does say that. Oh well. I think the tweet is better. Okay. The underlying ethical stance of this game. So I have heard some whisperings on Twitter as well as other social media sites that there's been some criticism of the tone of this game and the way it approaches fascism and World War II. I'm not going to make any comments on that. I think its stance is pretty clear, but let's go ahead and read the underlying stance of this game. This game is not, in and of itself, an act of resistance. It is an act of creativity, which reflects our frustration with the real world's ongoing Nazi problem. For some players, telling a story of fictional and over-the-top combat against some of history's worst people feels fun and cathartic. For others, reenacting a fight against literal World War II Nazis feels depressing or distasteful, or pretending to be a monster feels raw and upsetting. Eat the Reich isn't for everyone, and there's no shame in not wanting to take part. That said, we think that in the real world, if someone indicates to you that they have chosen to become a Nazi, you should consider violence against them, within, of course, your ability, safety, and convenience, before they choose violence against you or anyone else vulnerable. We also consider anti-fascist violence meaningfully different from, say, violence against some random orcs in a fantasy game. Nazis have indicated that they're evil, harmful, and oppressive to you by their choices, whereas killing an orc just because they were born an orc is definitely racist and probably the sort of thing a Nazi would do. I'll co-sign that. That feels good. Hello, Table Cat Games. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming. So then we have some safety rules. I tend to gloss over these because every game has them, and I think it's easy to kind of find some that fit your table. I do want to dive a little bit deeper since this game does cover a bit of a sensitive topic, just to see sort of what they recommend and how to approach them. So we have everyone at the table is responsible for everyone else's safety. Love that it's not just the GM's responsibility. I think that's a great call out. Eat the Reich has the potential to become very upsetting very quickly, so you owe it to each other to take a few minutes and make sure no one's going to have a bad time. There are a wide variety of safety tools available for use, and we recommend using the following 3 as standards in all your games. So set expectations. Totally agree with that. Lines and veils, definitely agree with that. And then we have the X card. And then they also talk about the traffic light system, which I haven't seen a lot of games talk about, but I do really like the traffic light system. Oh, it was adopted from BDSM community. I did not know that, which has the following 3 calls to make opting in and out of experience very easy. Call red when you want to stop the game and to edit what's going on. Amber, call amber when you want to pull back on whatever's happening. Take it less intense, less detailed, or just end it and move on. And green, call green when you're enjoying what's happening and want more. Table Cat Game says, I like design, though the foiled pages make me think Cassie's copy got all folded up. Oh, yeah, no, they just did a really good job. It looks really 3D though, doesn't it? It looks real on camera, but no, it's definitely flat. It doesn't look as 3D in person somehow. There is a wide range of other safety tools available online, and if the ones suggested here don't work well for you and your group, you should look around and find some that do. And then we have a section on playing anti-heroes. The vampires in Eat the Reich aren't clean-cut, idealistic paragons of virtue looking to liberate the world from the Nazi threat. They're here for revenge, adventure, to prove themselves, or, in Flint's case, breakfast. The methods they use could be considered to be evil even when presented in context. They're monsters, after all. As a group, it's important to establish safe boundaries around what depths of evil the player characters will sink to during the course of the game. What follows is a suggested list of boundaries, modified as you see fit. While this overlaps with the lines and veils outlined in the previous page, it's more focused on safely navigating the vampire genre. Our thanks to James Mendez Hodes for providing this framework. There is a more detailed checklist to use with this framework on page 66. Okay, so that must be the evil checklist. And we would encourage you to use this if there's any ambivalence or uncertainty in your group about where your boundaries lie. What are the acts inherent in the scenario which we will never question or interrogate? Drinking human blood for power, invading Nazi-occupied France, killing fascists. What are the acts we will engage with, but which could be a point of conflict between characters? Joy, excitement, or glory derived from killing fascists, collateral damage, harm to civilians. What are the acts which are reserved for villains, NPC characters only, murdering innocent civilians, fascism? What are the acts which even villains won't engage in? Rape or other sexual assault, deriving sexual pleasure from murder, violence against children. And then we have additional notes on tone and content. This game includes that. So I think this is exactly the same. It's not exactly the same. Blood, vampirism, mental domination, guns. Hello, Valerie North. Thank you so much for following. Feel free to say hello, introduce yourself in chat. It's pretty lively today. So this is very similar to what we read earlier. Historical accuracy. Eat the Reich is not a one-for-one retelling of the actual events that occurred in France during the Second World War. It assumes that Nazis established a far greater presence in Paris than they did in the real world. Our reasoning behind this is primarily a shallow one. Do they explain on the next page? We thought fighting Nazis in 1940s Paris would make for an exciting story without being overly disrespectful to the memories of genuine tragedies. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Also, fun fact for most people. Well, maybe it does go there. I was told never to use an apostrophe. I think it makes sense there, actually, but I was told never to use an apostrophe with the year by my editing professor. And if it does feel like there is one, you should rewrite the sentence so you don't use it. That might have just been a personal preference of hers, because I feel like it does make sense here for 1940s Paris. But if you said in the okay, thanks Kaya. If Kaya agrees, then I'm right, and I don't care what anybody else thinks. So if you were to say in 1940s Paris, no, I feel like it doesn't go there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, but that's how I feel. Okay, God. You can call me a grammar Nazi if you want to. Anyway, we changed a lot of things about the city. We had the invaders build extensive structures. We homogenized landmarks, and we included generic Paris-style elements in the adventure without directly referencing many particular locations. We hope that this sets a tone that empowers the GM to play fast and loose with the details and improvise material on the fly rather than strive for historical accuracy. Also, the bit about vampires is made up. I think they're lying about that last section, but as someone who is not good at history and who doesn't want to do... okay, I love that people in chat are like, yes. No apostrophe. Chat, you passed the vibe check. Thanks so much. Anyway, I really, really appreciate how they're like, no, don't be historically accurate. Focus on the game, focus on the fun, focus on telling a story. Don't get lost in the nitty gritty of Googling to make sure that such and such invention existed at the time of your playthrough, because that was something that I struggled with when I was playing Cthulhu set in 1920s. Trying to figure out, okay, well, what did exist? And oftentimes having to pause play to Google and figure out, okay, well, when was this invented? And is the item that I want as sophisticated as the one that existed at the time? Really stifled play. I don't know anything about the 1920s is what I realized when I tried to play that game. Innocent bystanders. The vampires' actions in Paris are wild, unpredictable, and dangerous. The longer they spend carving a bloody swathe through the Nazi occupiers, the more chance they'll end up hurting or killing someone they didn't mean to, or rather, it begins to seem outlandish if they don't, even by the standards of narrative already established. As a table, you need to pick one of the following approaches to deal with representing collateral damage, or come up with your own compromise. Chat is going at it. What are we talking about? Delta green is better. Okay, I've heard that. Exactly why I prefer doing personal. Yeah, fantasy generated settings are easier for real. Ugh. I hate cell phones in my games because they complicate everything. Well, we'll just call them and it'll solve all the problems. Okay, back to this. I'm reading section A and B. It is impossible for a vampire to cause serious physical harm to someone who isn't in a Nazi uniform. Just don't describe it happening. Innocent civilians are knocked clear of falling debris, they get away at the last second, or they're shown stumbling to their feet once the smoke clears. It's outlandish, but so is everything else happening at the table. And then B, some collateral damage is inevitable, and unwilling sacrifices are to be made to secure victory. Vampires don't directly harm non-Nazis, but if they collapse a building by driving a tank into it, it makes sense for them to accidentally hurt and kill people. Don't revel in it. That's not why you're here, but sketch out the human cost of ending the war in this manner. Hey, Alec, I don't like B. I like A. It's actually one of the reasons I stopped enjoying like superhero movies. I really struggle with collateral damage. So I like A. I like that we can just be like, no, everyone survives. It's a happy, fun vampire game. La la la. Except the Nazis. And then we have a section on discrimination and racism. And then we're going to playing with history. With most games in historical settings, we generally prioritize 3 things in this order: the health, safety, and comfort of real people, especially the players in the game, a fun, functional play experience, 3, historical accuracy and detail. You'll need to depart from history, but as you do, don't invent new Nazi atrocities to communicate that Nazis are evil. Nazis are evil, and we already know why. Convincing someone Nazis are worth fighting is outside the scope of this game and your narrative. Don't ascribe human historical crimes to different supernatural sources. It absolves those humans of guilt. You'll notice we have no secret vampires or cosmic horrors manipulating the Nazis. They're the same Nazis as they were in history, but all the occult stuff actually works in this game. The game is not about the Holocaust. The Holocaust is an important topic, but sometimes we need to be able to tell stories about the people the Nazis marginalized, which don't lead into Holocaust narratives. Don't harangue other players for not knowing World War II facts. I can see the playtesting that happened to make that a statement that needed to be said. There's enjoying history and there's gatekeeping, and the second isn't fun. If someone repeats something offensive or harmful, it's fine to correct them gently, but don't hog the spotlight spouting military history or make fun of others for not knowing tank specifications or French customs. Don't pretend humans are helpless without vampire assistance. You're using your vampire powers to help, and that's excellent, but in real life, humans killed Hitler's ass, and we probably would have done it even if he employed witches and werewolves. To expand on this last point, many war narratives generate pathos by focusing on the helplessness, passivity, or victimhood of the groups the Nazis targeted. We want to highlight the fact that every one of these groups mounted determined resistances to the Nazi war machine, sometimes against impossible odds, sometimes in full knowledge that they wouldn't survive, sometimes knowing that they would go home to the countries which defeated the Nazis and face hatred there as well. So, setting up your game. If you've run a role-playing game before, you can probably skip this section, so all of us, and read on. Yeah, we're probably good. We probably don't really need that. I'm gonna assume if you need that, you can pause and look. Choosing a character in Eat the Reich, we are given pre-generated characters which you can play. Each of whom has different skills, abilities, and backgrounds. They also come with a few character hooks to make play easier. While the character mechanics are fixed, their backgrounds are entirely malleable. Keep the parts you like, discard those you don't, and add those that make sense during play. You don't need to start out with a flashed out backstory beyond these few concepts. You can choose from one of the following 6 characters. Irina, a gothic socialite warlock who brought a cavalry saber from home. Nicole, a hard-bitten, gun-toting resistance explosives expert. Cosgrave, an East London wide boy necromancer. Chuck, a rotting cowboy just trying to get along. Astrid, who has an ancient predator soul coiled around her own. Flint, a half-bat monstrosity who lives in a cave. I don't know which one I like more. They're all cool. I don't know, Astrid with the soul coiled around her own. I don't know, that seems like the proper amount of angst I can get behind. But also a gothic socialite. I don't know, they're all cool. They all seem fun. Just from those blurbs. Oh, we got some more blurbs. Who's who? It can be a good idea to recommend. Also, as I read these, be thinking about which characters you want to look at closer, because we won't look at all of them, but we'll look at 2. So chat will get to decide which characters we look at closer. Who's who? It can be a good idea to recommend certain characters to certain players if you think they'll have a good time taking control of them. Here's a rough guide on who to give to who. Irina is the poshiest of all the characters and probably the best dressed. She has some abilities and equipment which allow for interesting descriptions of magic too. Players who want to be beautiful and elegant rulers of the night should enjoy playing her. Nicole has a bunch of guns. If someone likes guns, glorious self-destruction, or the linear application of extreme violence to complex problems, they may well like playing Nicole. Cosgrave is the most magical character, and his abilities come with the expectation that the players will use them in creative ways. Give Cosgrave to a player who's comfortable with improvising in the moment. Chuck is a good-natured cowpoke, but he eats corpses. Give Chuck to the Joker in your group because he's oh, I swear I can read. Because he's incurious. I'm so sorry. I swear I can read. I'm just not good at it. And has plenty of opportunities to make light of situation. Astrid is the most basic character in mechanical terms, and she's very good at fighting Nazis. If a player doesn't want to make too many complex decisions and just wants to rip Nazis in half, give them Astrid. Finally, Flint is a half-man, half-bat monster who may or may not be able to talk. Players who are new to role-playing or talking in character might enjoy the opportunity to play a big, friendly, dog-like creature, albeit one that isn't very friendly to Nazis. These are great. Thanks for lurking, Kaya. I think this is awesome for describing pre-generated characters and to help in assigning them. I can already see if I were to run this at my table, who would get what. Like, it's really great. It's really perfect. Playing with identity. This game, getting on this end camera, this game defines the 6-player character vampires only loosely. Because they should be as easy to play as possible, it's up to you as the players to provide detail as and when you feel it's exciting, evocative, or appropriate. So our iconic vampires haven't gotten preset pronouns, religion, sexualities, or neurotypes. The character sheets and art suggest certain things about their bodies, ancestries, gender presentation, and cultural backgrounds. But the game still works great if you modify those identities to fit your creative vision or to evoke your own real-world identity. If you, out of character, share a character's marginalized identity, we trust you to get it right. If you portray a character with a marginalized identity you don't share, you can also be great. But if you stray into a stereotype, you might make a player at your table feel uncomfortable or develop bad habits which lead you to uncomfortable interactions with marginalized people later on in the real world. Successfully and sensitivity playing a marginalization you don't share is a complex skill. So this is a starting point. And then it has some ideas on how to do that. I think that's great. And then we have some thoughts on religion, which is good. And then characters. Do Irina's art. I really dig all the details. Looks like she might have a lip piercing, or that might be a scar. Smoking. Lots of flowers. And the character sheet's like coffin shaped, which is cool. There's a finger. Old Money, Undead Occultist, and Bon Vivitant. I don't know if that's how you say that. Black sheep of the well-established vampire clan ancestral home and family torn apart by Nazis, providing a significant portion of Fang funding. So her stats include Brawl is 2. Let me get you up there. Brawl is 2. Con, I'm gonna assume that's Constitution, is 4. Fix 2. Search 2. Shoot 3. Sneak 1. Terrify 3. I thought this said therapy at first. Therapy's at 3. No, it's terrify. Equipment, exquisite hunting rifle, a magic cavalry saber, explosive runes, cigarettes taken from the pockets of hanged men. That's cool. Abilities. Spend 1 blood. Those nearby are mesmerized by your unearthly visage, plus beautiful surroundings. So, and then here's a blood tracker, by the way. Knight's willing servants. Spend 1 blood, summon a swarm of bats under your control, plus old buildings. Deadshot. When you use a ranged weapon. Deadshot. When you use a ranged weapon, special, reduce a threat's attack rating by 1. Advances. Hell's ravenous fire. Spend 1 blood. Ignore challenge on your next action against a threat. Inveneration of the soul. Spend 1 blood on your next roll. Gain special. Inflict 4 damage to an Ubermensch. I think that's how you say it. Ubermensch. Mantle of the Fell Beast. Spend 2 blood. Brawl and Terrify. Become 4. All other stats are set to 1 and you cannot use items. Lasts until the objective is complete. That sounds pretty intense. And then we have some injuries down here. Suit torn, abnormal puncture, can't use dice, hair ruined, headshot, shoulder injury, arms removed, may only use 1 item per turn. And then last stand, forbidden sorceries, 8d6. Okay, so I don't really know what all this means quite yet. I can make some educated guesses, but we'll take a closer look in a minute. Who is the other person I wanted to look at closer, just to take a look at abilities so we can see how things are different. Cosgrave is the most magical character, so let's look at him. Unless anybody else wants to speak up. Oh, he looks so cool. I love the colors. I love the design. Very cool. Hackney necromancer, taught by your aunt, medically dead, but can still walk around. And that on the run from East London's undead mafia, crooked as a 3-bob note, but charming with lots of weird black magic tricks. Brawl 2, Con 3, Fix 3, Search 2, Shoot 2, Sneak 3, Terrify 2. And then his equipment includes enormous knife, plus never saw you coming, sewn off shotgun, plus point blank, bottled ghost, plus pass through walls, Mother Millicent stolen soul jar, plus any, whatever that means. And then we have blood. Well, the thing to remember, Table Cat Games said there's so much art in this, I wish I could afford that. Thing to remember is, I know that they did have a lot of art in the upfront, but they also did a Kickstarter that raised a ton of money, and that probably allowed them to add a bunch of extra art. Like, it raised a lot of money. Abilities. Dance Macabre. Spend 1 blood. Gain full control of a corpse for around a minute, after which it falls apart. Back Pocket Hex. Reduce a threat's attack rating by 1. I have, like, Neptune is lingering. Thanks, Petra, for popping by. Have a great one. Phantasmagoria. Spend 1 blood. Conjure nightmare illusions in the area immediately around you. Advances. Memory rots. I love that. Spend 1 blood. Remove or implant memories from someone you lock eyes with. Oh, I love that. Death burst. Spend 1 blood. Curse a Nazi within arm's reach to explode when they die. Dead Man's Luck. After you roll your dice pool, before you discard dice, reduce the GM successful attack dice by 1 for each one you rolled. And then we have injuries that are different from the other character we looked at. So some lost fingers, arm ripped off, sunken chest wound, shot in the face, grimoire damaged, and wand compromise. So that's interesting. I love that. 382k on Kickstarter. Yeah. Sorry, 328k on Kickstarter. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of dough for some art. So. Okay, so now we're getting more into what did they call this section? So we finished the characters. There doesn't seem to be like a title for this one. Is this getting things done section? I don't know. Huh. It doesn't seem like... I guess this would be in the choosing your character section. Because then this is the getting things done, which I assume will have the rules. They said the rules would be on page 28, so I think that's... yeah, that's here. So, we'll take a closer look at that in a second. Nazis... In Eat the Reich, the Nazis took control of Germany in the 1930s. Oh, there's that apostrophe again. Remember, everyone. No apostrophe in your year. In the 1930s, and rapidly expanded their influence throughout Europe with an aggressive campaign of invasion, blockading, and terror tactics. Unfortunately for the Nazis' enemies, their technological superiority was only outmatched by their occult prowess, thanks to the decades of frantic research of some of the world's most skilled and least morally upstanding wizards. The crown jewel of their burgeoning empire was Paris, and it is here that Hitler planned to unveil his greatest creation so far, Nazi werewolves. Fang. F-A-N-G. So I don't actually think it's called Fang. I think it's F-A-N-G. Formed in secret 6 months ago, this loose-knit organization of vampires, walking corpses, and morally gray wizards and one hell of an administrative staff are the Allies' last chance at victory as Hitler prepares to reveal a new breed of fascist lycanthrope. A crack squadron of FANG commando launched their final mission to crash land in occupied Paris, drink all of Hitler's blood, and fatally destabilize the Nazi war machine. Fang is led by Commander Slate, a mortal who reports directly to Allied command. Slate's trademark, clipped briefing style, and inspirational speeches have become a hallmark of Fang missions, and her leadership has seen them succeed against the odds on a number of tense engagements. There is no official documentation concerning what the acronym Fang stands for. I love that. I was really excited to find out what it did stand for. It probably is full of curse words. Vampires. Vampires resist categorization. They're rare, they're secretive, and they eat people who ask too many questions. They all have a few things in common, though. They're together, stronger, and faster than normal people. They drink blood or eat flesh to survive. They possess a level of intelligence similar to humans. They can't handle prolonged exposure to sunlight without immolating. They're medically dead, but appear alive thanks to blood magic. Each of the player characters in Eat the Reich is some form of vampire, though they're not all the classic Widow's Peak and Evening Wear type. Fang has found a place for the back alley necromancers, haggard ghouls, and cave-dwelling monstrosities amongst its ranks. Drop coffins. Deployment of Fang squads is performed via the use of tactical drop coffins, a method so brutally effective that it is only usable by operatives who are already dead. A drop coffin is a reinforced steel box rigged with pressurized cylinders of premium high-quality nun's blood and some pneumatic shock absorption to protect the structure's integrity of the device. These coffins are carried over the target site in a high-altitude bomber, often shielded from enemy radar and scrying by a Fang obfuscationist, and drop directly into action. No parachutes are used. These would slow descent, taking away a crucial element of surprise. I love that. That's cool. The drop coffins are very cool. The drop coffins plummet several thousand feet through the air before smashing directly into the ground, turning the occupant into a sort of mangled paste of gristle and bone. At this stage, the nun's blood is released into the coffin, and the vampire within can use it to heal any and all wounds within seconds. After that, it is a simple matter of kicking open the lid and descending on whatever luckless fascists they landed next to. All blood willingly donated by members of Fang's on-site covenant Our Lady of Perpetual Ruin. And then we have some art. Okay. And then this is what a drop coffin looks like. This is actually some dope lore. I love that. There's a skeleton hidden in the spine a bit. Got some nun blood right there. All right, so this is where we're actually going to get into the rules. I'm not going to be reading a ton of the rest of this because I don't want to read the whole book on stream, but we're about halfway through it. Getting things done. As a blood-drinking, undying creature of the night, there is very little the Nazis can do to stand in your way, though they'll send squads and squads of soldiers and more dangerous and weirder things besides against you, and you can tear through almost any opposition with brutal effectiveness. Stats. Every action a player character makes is governed by one of the 7 statistics or stats listed below. Brawl. Kill Nazis up close. Con. Sway Nazis with lies, flattery, or charisma. Oh, con. So actual con, not constitution. Well, there we go. Fix, repair, or modify devices and structures. Search, investigate to uncover information. Shoot, kill Nazis at a distance. Sneak, avoid detection, and minimize disruption. Terrify, scare Nazis into compliance. When you're making an action, your stat will form the base of your dice pool. Read on for details. Turn order. The GM chooses which player character acts first. Once they've completed the process below, the GM can then choose which player character acts next. Once every player character has completed their turn, a Nazi reinforcements arrive if necessary, and a new round begins. Building your dice pools. When it's your turn, determine what stat you're using to achieve your goals. There are more details on stats above. This will mainly be governed by the sort of things you want to do. If you're leaping headlong into a private box at the opera and murdering everyone inside, that's a brawl. If you're tricking a gullible officer into parting with information, that's a con. And if you're hurriedly repairing the engine on your getaway car, that's a fix. Grab a number of dice equal to your character's rating in that. So like if your Terrify is 3, you grab 3 dice. If your action doesn't line up with any of these stats, either change it so it does, or just roll 2 dice and carry on. Then, if you decide to use equipment or abilities during your turn, you can add a dice to your pool for each one you use. If you use a piece of equipment, spend 1 use of it. If you use an ability, pay any costs listed in the ability text. Usually you'll need to spend 1 blood. You can describe using equipment or abilities without paying the cost to power them, but you don't get the extra dice. Cool. Okay. Going out with a bang. Trying to get this up there. There we go. The last, don't block my mic. What are you doing? The last of any item or equipment that starts with more than use adds an additional bonus die. Okay, let me start over. The last use of any item of equipment that starts with more than 1 use adds an additional bonus dice to the pool. This is to encourage players to use their items up and loot new ones, which is more interesting than relying on the same kit for the whole story. I like relying on the same kit, thank you very much. Add bonus dice. Your equipment and abilities have bonus requirements, situations in which they're especially useful or potent, which unlock extra dice that when they're satisfied. The number of plus symbols before the requirement show you how many bonus dice you get to roll if you satisfy the requirement. For example, Nicole's submachine gun has a plus flanking requirement, so if you describe her attacking enemies from the side to bypass their cover, you can roll an extra dice as you do it. Ooh, that's cool. Generally, the more awkward it is to meet a requirement, the more bonus dice you get for meeting it. Alternatively, some powerful pieces of equipment have a low number of uses, but can be used to gain additional dice with ease. For example, Cosgrave's Stolen Soul Jar has 1 use only, but can add 4 bonus dice to anything it's used on. That is cool. You can also roll bonus dice later on while you're allocating dice if it makes sense to do so. GM builds the threat pool. The GM grabs dice equal to the current attack rating of the threat you're currently engaged with. Engaged means involved with, actively fighting, or otherwise influencing. Player roll, discard. GM roll, discard. Okay, so this says player roll. Success, +1 damage, or +1 defense, or +1 blood. Critical, plus... Okay, so these are discarded. These are success, and then this is a critical, I guess. That's how I'm reading that. Sorry. I don't think I had them on camera. So these ones are discarded. These are successes, but then these are the criticals. That's how I'm reading that. I think those are basically the rules. I bet what's next is more so like kind of giving examples, because that didn't not make sense. I think I need some insight on how to build a threat level. because I don't see that yet. But from a player character perspective, I think I understand. Thinking about the objectives. Okay. Allocating your dice. Allocate each remaining dice to one of the following: advancing an objective, eliminating a threat, defending yourself against attacks, feeding on Nazi blood, activating a special. As you allocate each dice, add one detail that describes the scene as it happens. If those details satisfy new bonus dice conditions on the equipment or abilities you're using, you can roll those bonus dice at this stage. When you allocate a success to advancing an objective, reduce the objective's rating by 1. When you allocate a critical, reduce the objective's rating by 2. An objective with rating 0 has been completed, and the vampires have achieved their aims. If the objective has a challenge rating, it absorbs that number of dice before it is damaged. For example, if you allocate 2 successes to an objective with a challenge rating of 1, you will only reduce the objective's rating by 1. Okay. I think I get this. It absorbs that number. Okay, I totally get it. So if the challenge rating is 2 and you have 3 successes and you give all 3 to it, it would still only reduce by 2 or by 1 because the objective had absorbed 2 dice. I get it. Add details like clearing a path towards something useful, lending support to an ally, interacting with the objective, drawing fire, distracting attention, away from mission critical actions, and so on. When you allocate a success to eliminating a threat, reduce the threat's rating by 1. When you allocate a critical, reduce the threat's rating by 2. A threat with rating 0 has been beaten back, and while reinforcements will soon arrive, see page 36, they're not an immediate problem. They no longer inflict damage. If the threat has a challenge rating, then it absorbs that number of dice before it is damaged, in the same way as an objective. Hello, Odds Thank you for following. Appreciate it. Add details like ripping Nazis in half, laying down covering fire, cutting off routes for reinforcements, sowing confusion and terror, and so on. When you allocate a success to defending yourself, remove 1 of the GM's attack dice. When you allocate a critical, remove 2 of the GM's attack dice. Their dice don't have special rules for 6s, only yours do. Add details. So then we have adding more details. When you allocate a success to feeding, gain 1 blood. When you allocate a critical, gain 2 blood. Ooh, okay, so I can see there's a lot of options to make choices here, and to use strategy. So that's fun. I bet it's difficult to think through, okay, well, I want this success to go here. I want this success to go. Yeah, I can see how that would be really fun in the moment. Specials can only be activated when a critical is allocated to them. These represent uncanny or exceptional abilities that the vampire possesses and allow them to break the rules of the game and do strange and interesting things. Usually specials interact with the mechanics of the game, so they might let you inflict massive damage, complete objectives single-handed, reduce enemy damage, and the like. Your specials, if you have any, are listed on your sheet alongside your abilities. Add details that shed light on the special and how it takes effect in the friction. Take control with details. The details here are just suggestions. You can put forward most whatever you want as long as the table is enjoying it. In many role-playing games, only the GM can describe the world around you and the actions of the NPCs within. Not so in Eat the Reich. If you want something to be presented in the game, introduce it. You don't have to ask, is there a door here? Instead say, there's a door here. Or better yet, I kick in a door and start shooting and go from there. The only thing that you can't narrate is the actions of the other named characters. So that's the player characters and any important NPCs the GM might have to play with during the adventure. Nameless mooks are fair game, but if you ask for permission first, you can make a suggestion. Hey, can you throw me through the barricade? It's fine. The GM and other players have veto rights over any details you introduce. So if they want you to change something, respect their choice and swap it for something else. Once you've allocated all your dice, if the GM has attack dice remaining, you roll for a category and mark an injury. If the GM has 3 or more attack dice remaining, you instead mark all injuries in that category and are downed until another vampire rescues you, else that you'll be at the mercy of the Nazis. You can learn about injuries on page 34. All right, I didn't want to read the example play, but I think it would be good to. And then we might not read the nitty-gritty pieces. Okay, example play. Irina has taken up a position at the top of the clock tower and is covering the other vampires as they advance across an open square. The current objective is to take cover inside the Museum 6, and the current threat is 4 squad of Nazi soldiers. A squad of Nazi soldiers 4, attack 3. I'm going to stay up here and keep shooting Nazis so the others can cross the open grounds. I'm going to try and keep them pinned down rather than killing all of them. So Irina's saying that. Irina's player character grabs dice equal to their shoot stat, which is 3, and decides to use the exquisite hunting rifle and explosive runes equipment. They add in 1 extra dice for each, and seeing as Irina is already up high, they satisfy the bonus dice requirement for their rifle elevated position. So they grab 1 more dice for that too. That's 6 dice total. The GM takes 3 dice. The attack rating of the threat, and the threat is a squad of Nazi soldiers 4, attack 3. So the threat is 4. So the GM, oh, it's 3. Where did they get, I guess the attack, it says attack 3 up here. So I guess that's what they mean by threat here. So Irina rolls her 6 dice, the GM rolls their 3 dice, and then they discard all dice that show 3 or less, leaving them with this set here. So Irina has 6, 5, and 4, and the GM has 6 and 4. Irina's player character describes that the character does in the fiction whilst allocating dice. And that's what's next. Okay, Irina's person says, my first shot takes out the guy on the light machine gun, clean through the forehead, splat. But that put that on the objective. They allocate the 4 to the objective, reducing it to 5. Second shot takes out the spotlight that's shining on the square, plunging the whole area into shadows. Put that on the objective too. They allocate the 5 to the objective, reducing it to 4. My last dice is a 6, which counts for 2 successes, so I'll use that to knock your attack down to 0. They allocate the 6 to defending themselves, removing 2 attack dice. We see a few modifiers kick in the door. We see a few soldiers kick in the door of the tower I'm standing in, but on the other side of those doors, I've attached explosive runes and they detonate, collapsing the entryway. Seeing as those runes were hidden and explosive runes bonus requirement is ++ concealed, I get 2 bonus dice for that. They roll 2 dice, scoring a 4 and a 2. They discard the 2. For my last dice, I'll stick it on the objective. I sling my rifle on my shoulder and leap out the side of the clock tower onto an adjoining roof, then start running towards the museum. They allocate the 4 from their bonus roll to the objective, reducing it to 3. The GM's attack score is 0, so Irina doesn't take an injury this turn. The GM chooses the next player character to act and play continues. That's interesting. I think I would still need to play the game slowly to get a handle on how all the dice are allocated and how things are being tracked and reduced. I think I'm getting a little tripped up there. Vampires drink blood to represent each individual's vampire horde of gore. Eat the Reich uses blood with a capital B. Players can resupply this mystical resource by spinning successes to suck it out of Nazis instead of attacking, defending, or advancing the objective. A vampire can hold a maximum of 10 blood. When an ability or rule says that you should spend blood, remove 1 blood from your stock. Healing and other powerful abilities require more than 1 blood to activate. This is stated in their descriptions. At the start of the events of Eat the Reich, every vampire has 0 blood. They used all the supply in their drop coffins to fuel their regeneration. Best get to drinking. I figured that was the case. I feel like this should be somewhere else, though. I don't feel like it makes sense necessarily in the spread. This just feels like important information. Okay. So then it talks about injuries. It talks about being downed, dying, healing, objectives, and threats. So this is where I was getting a little confused. So I think I want to dive into this section a little bit further before we start wrapping up. Objectives and threats. Everything in Paris can be divided mechanically into objectives and threats. Objectives are tasks or challenges that the vampire must overcome to complete their mission. Objectives form the core of each scene and chart the party's progress through the city. Each objective has a rating between 2 and 12. The higher the rating, the more steps have to be completed before the goal is achieved. When an objective's rating reaches 0, it has been completed. Ask the player who removed the last point of rating to describe what happens. For example, the player character finds themselves on the street outside the German Technology Pavilion. Cutting through here would allow them access to the plaza adjacent to the Eiffel Tower, as well as giving them a chance to scavenge some interesting experimental equipment. The objective becomes, get inside the German Technology Pavilion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Threats represent the Nazi forces defending the city, who will attempt to stop the invaders at any turn. The more threats in play and the longer they've been active, the more danger the vampires are in. Each threat has a rating, just like an objective, but they also have attack dice. Attack dice are rolled by the GM when the player acts and determines whether or not their character suffers an injury. For example, the Technology Pavilion is guarded by a squad of soldiers carrying submachine guns and newfangled stun batons. The threat in this situation is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3. I guess I'm confused. Where are they getting like this piece and then where are they getting the attack? I wonder if they talk about that, like how to set that up. It looks like they do a little bit. I can't imagine them not. I might have just missed it. There's some planning stuff, sectors. I'm just looking ahead a little bit to see. I'm looking at all the cool art. Okay, so so here's a section. Oh, here's a section with some enemies, and these, you can totally run a game and let me play. Good to know, good to know, good to know. So this section has common enemies, and I do notice that they have threats and attack. So I think that's sort of where this is coming. So infantry squad, there we go. So that's the threat and the attack. Okay. So that's where they're getting that number from. I think I would have appreciated in this section if it said something like see page 59 for enemies. You know what I mean? Just so I knew where they were getting this. The GM rolls dice equal to the attack of the threat. That's the acting player character is encouraged with or actively avoiding. If they're engaged with multiple threats, pick the one with the highest attack. For each... Oh, okay. See, I feel like this piece should be highlighted. If they're engaged with multiple threats, pick the one with the highest attack. I feel like that's really important. And this is coded paper, so I can't highlight it like I usually would. When a threat's rating is reduced to 0, reduce its attack to 0 as well. The Nazis have been killed, routed, or otherwise obstructed, but they're not gone for good. See the reinforcement rules. See the reinforcement rules below. Remember this? Guess where the reinforcement rules are? Right here. They're on the next page. So if you're new, if you haven't heard me harp on this, never use directional language in your manuscript, because what will happen is it will move around and then it won't be in the place it was originally. So this says see the reinforcement rules below, but it should just say see the reinforcement rules and then a page number. That's usually your best bet. You don't want to say on the following page even, because you might end up putting art on the following page or a spread on the following page, and then things get messed up. And I know in InDesign and I know in Affinity Publisher, you can actually lock sections to sections. So in Carved by the Garden, for example, I have the endings are hooked up. So if I were to adjust the book, I just had to click a sync button, and the pages where I would say see page blah blah blah, the page number would automatically update with that sync button. So in general, avoid using directional language in your manuscript writing for everything you do. It's just not a good idea, because your text is going to move. Is it the end of the world? No. But I think it leads to a more polished product when you just use page numbers. Players can divide up their successions between all present threats and objectives in play as they win, as long as it makes sense with the fiction. And then we have rules on reinforcements and how those work, how challenges work, scenes work, secondary objectives, some kick-ass art. Tabletop Game says I gotta figure out that sync button thing. I can probably help you in the chat. I just need to open up Publisher and see what it's called. I think it's in the table of contents section. Here, what is this? What is this section? Oh, we have a looting section, flashbacks. Let's look at this. Once per session, when you roll 2 successes or fewer, you can trigger a flashback to spur yourself on to victory. You won't let Hitler win this easy. Roll on the flashback tables to define a question or choose one that appeals. Answer it by describing a brief scene that happened on a past Fang mission. The other players can help where the table states character, randomly determine or choose player character from the ones present at the session. Okay. When the flashback is over, add 2 dice to your pool, then roll all of your dice at once. The second result stands. Flashback context: if you roll the same as another player, it happened on the same mission. Okay, and then some of the flashbacks include like on board a plummeting aeroplane. That's cool. That's cool, I like that. Then we have how missions are structured with the briefing, the coffin fall, the climax, the epilogue. That's cool. And this is a beautiful spread. I dig. I don't know what this situation is up here, but I like it. Looks cool. Running the game. It looks like it talks about the tone, the pacing, how to provide opportunities for chaos, when not to use the rules, some text on when to be Nazi and when not to be, or how to play pretend, how to do accents, or probably not how to do accents. It's probably like a note on accents and sensitivity regarding accents. We've got the map of Paris with locations, and this looks like it breaks out locations a little bit more. Yeah. What is this? There's some more locations. Yeah, so we're still in locations. And then these seem like important NPCs that are in these locations. Yeah, so these are important NPCs that are in the location. Enemies. It's interesting that like enemies aren't on the table of contents. That's what I'm looking at. That is interesting to me. More Sector 1. Oh, the enemies are just in that sector. Okay, I see. Hitler's broadcast suite. Look at this guy. Wow. The final scene. What does Hitler's blood taste like? Amphetamines. I'm not gonna read that. I don't want to do spoilers. You can pause if you want to. And then we have that evil calibration checklist that we talked about earlier about making sure you're not too evil, or like that everybody at the table is still comfortable. So I think this is really cool that they included something like this just as a way to have a discussion and make sure everybody's comfortable. I think that's really neat. And then we have like Eat the Reich was inspired by Helsing, Suicide Squad, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Totally see that. Danger 5. I don't know what Danger 5 is, but looks like Grant liked it. Games Digital. We've got Washu. I don't know any of these. Oh, Die. I know Die. I like Die. Wolfenstein. Yeah, I totally see Wolfenstein. We gotta talk about it. Is it from the 80s? Is that why I don't know about it? And then Further Adventures. Kind of how, let's see, what is this? Once Hitler's dead and the vampires have stolen his Zeppelin and flown it off London, or crashed it into the scene, I don't know how to say that, or pawned it off for cigarette money, the game is over. Eat the Reich is built to tell one story. But if you want to explore the world and you're feeling creative, here are some ideas that you're welcome to elaborate on and make up your own scenarios using the rules presented in this book. Making the pain run on time. Everyone loves Italian food, so why not airdrop into Rome and consume all of Mussolini's vital fluids? He's hanging out in the Villa Turrina, a historic palace riddled with subterranean additions, ancient and modern, the most important being an airtight bunker which contains a prototype of the first Italian bipedal weapon platform. Try to kill him before he gets it powered up. Hirito. The Imperial Palace of Japan is situated slap bang in the middle of Tokyo on an island covered in garden, woodlands, and charming architectural features. Emperor Hiroshio has holed up inside and overhauled the island's defenses, turning the once peaceful area into a death trap of barbed wires, spike pits, machine gun nests, and anti-personnel mines. Get in there. And then some more ideas. That's cool. Okay, and then we have sections on like how to build. Oh, this is Grant. Oh, that's cool. I love this. Grant, Maz, a throat ripper. I don't know who that is. Will Kirkby. So this is the artist. That's so fun. Those look great. Those turned out so good. They're little character identity cards. And then how to create characters. So that's the book. That's everything in the book. Hope everybody had a good time learning about Eat the Reich. I sure did. I think I really want to try it out. It doesn't say in the book that it's built for one-shots, but I got the sense that it was when I backed the Kickstarter. So I'm kind of interested. Maybe it does say it somewhere and I kind of like scooched through it because I was kind of plowing through the end of it there. I do think it probably is a game that lends itself better to a one-shot or a few-shot situation. The text even goes so far as to say you're not going to have a bespoke character arc, and I feel like from a campaign perspective, usually a bespoke character arc is more campaign-centric. That's not usually going to happen inside of a few shot. So I don't know. It seems like it lends itself better to shorter game scenario, maybe. It also seems a little bit like a pretzels and maybe beer game, less of a like let's full on role play and more of a like let's have fun, let's beat people up, let's be violent and silly and goofy and that type of thing, kind of like a Fallout situation. It kind of feels Fallout-y in its gore, its approach to gore and the world. So hey, Tabletop Bookshelf, thanks so much for popping by. Again, these most of the time I get these on YouTube within a few days, not always. I don't have a great track record, but I try. Anyway,